This is E.G. Mitchell, and as of yesterday, the officers involved in the killing of Breonna Taylor have been acquitted. Let's go.
But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood.
September 23rd, 1955, Emmett Till's murderers are acquitted. September 23rd, 2020, Breonna Taylor's murderers are acquitted. And for those that don't know what acquitted means, it means they're not guilty in the killing, the murder, the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor. Well, we already knew what was going to happen. You know, we just knew, And I'm just appalled, This keeps happening. Do I want the officers to get the death penalty? No, I don't want that. But justice is justice. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and fair is fair. I had to go back and look at the New York Times presents The Killing of Breonna Taylor on Hulu. And I spoke on it a bit in my previous episode, Justice. But I had to go back and do some more investigating, some more studying. Because it didn't make sense that these men were acquitted. Now, Brett Hankinson received the I guess he was the liability because he had received the most trouble out of all the officers. He had a track record. And he was basically charged with 3 counts of wantonness. And basically he gets 5 years for each count. But he has a loophole that he could use. He can do a pretrial diversion, which will actually let him off. And that is often used in DUI cases or small misdemeanor cases so they can avoid prison time. And the grand jury made a pass on the other officers. So they're going to need to go back and go to trial because this is just not fair. It is not right. And I had went back and watched the video, the documentary that the New York Times released on Hulu, which is the New York Times Presents The Killing of Breonna Taylor. And they open up with Kenneth Walker crying and weeping on the phone as he's talking to a 911 operative. And he's explaining or trying to explain that his girlfriend had been murdered. Now, on that call, you didn't hear not one officer trying to see if anyone was okay. I understand with shooting and stuff going on. I get that. But no one tried to see if Breonna Taylor was okay. You didn't hear any commotion in the background. There was total silence. Basically, it was just him and her in the house as she's bleeding out on the floor dead. You heard not one officer say, hey, step away from the body. Nothing. But you want to know what they did say, though? After all was said and done, come out of the house. Hands up, cop killer. They already accused this man of murder when all he did was shoot an officer in the leg. But I'm going to go into more detail. So, fast forward, Sergeant Mattingly, Brett Hankinson, and Detective Cosgrove was involved in the warrant search Breonna Taylor's home. It was 5 homes involved, and one being her home, the other belonging to an ex-boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover, and the other three. Now they was making emphasis about her with, having dealings with him and packages and stuff coming to her house. Okay, I get it. War on drugs, public health, trying to keep the community safe. Okay, but at the same time, they both should have been walking out the house in cuffs. In cuffs. So, one of the key people in this is Mattingly. He was the first one at the house. And the New York Times has audio of him speaking to the investigator, detective, whoever, in the case to figure out what happened. So, in his own words, before they left, he heard them say that the no-knock warrant had been changed to a knock and announce warrant. But he says, and I quote, "I knocked on the door twice and didn't answer the first couple of times because our intent was to get her to the door." Now, if your orders was changed from a no-knock warrant to that of a knock and announcement warrant, you disobeyed whoever was in charge. You did your own agenda. You were operating in that blue world system. You were operating in that. There is no way that you were not supposed to just knock and not announce yourself. Your orders were to knock and announce yourself. But what you did was the no-knock warrant. So, once you did that, afterwards you said that then I announced myself. But Kenneth Walker has a different story. Other couple of witnesses has another story. He said he heard knocking and he said, "Who is it?" There was not an answer. There was another knock again, which he said bang. He said bang. And Breonna rose up and said, "Who is it?" to the top of her lungs. There was nothing. Then, boom. Then he fires, because before then, while they were knocking, he reached for his stuff because he's legal in the state of Kentucky. And he's only shot his weapon at the gun range. His words. Now, he shoots Mattingly in the leg. And Mattingly knows he's shot in the leg. He says this. So he returned fire. A total of 7 times he shot into the house. Then he heard another 5 more being let off. Now, if he's in the front, it sounds to me that he hit her. She was hit those many times. He's in the front, and he was pulled out by another officer, Cosgrove, I believe. These were his own words. But yet, Kenneth Walker was charged with attempted murder of an officer of whom he did not know that officers were entering their home. And from the sounds of it, Breonna Taylor didn't seem like the type that would say, "Hey baby, shoot the police." Her character, she was too sweet for that. So it sounds like to me, you all disobeyed orders, walked in your own agenda, and did what you wanted to do. And now a young lady is dead because you didn't obey orders. Then another key thing in all this was that police saying we announced ourselves, others saying they didn't. There were 2 witnesses. You could watch the documentary. And some said it, and also on NBC News rather, The attorney said there were 12 witnesses that said they did not hear the police announce themselves. But it took one man to say, I heard the police announce themselves, and the police get off. But you have 12 witnesses that said they didn't hear anything from the police. But it took one man to say, oh, I heard them. But everybody else didn't hear them? Something is wrong with that. And police are taught to announce themselves. And according to one of the officers or detectives that was on the video, he said he taught his officers to be able to announce themselves and be heard in 100-foot diameter. So why would this man lie about saying I didn't hear the police? He had no reason to lie. And judge from him what he looks like endangering his girlfriend by shooting the police. He would have ended up dead too, but he's alive. He's alive. So, was the intent to kill Breonna Taylor all along? Because she's not a witness. Dead people can't talk. People are supposed to be seized, and whatever you was looking for is supposed to be seized. But it wasn't. And in the whole documentary, no one said, hey, we found drug money or we found the drugs. Nothing. None of that was said. She had a right to a trial, but she's dead. They painted this picture as if they were doing such an excellent job when the job cost someone their life. It's not fair, nor is it right that this young lady is gone. You all need to do a retrial. A retrial, because this isn't fair. It isn't fair. It isn't justice. It isn't justice for us at all. This country is still divided. It is still biased. It's still separated but equal. But we all know what that means. We're separated and we're still unequal. We're not the same. And it's something about an officer wearing that badge, being in blue, he will get off. Now, some have been arrested. I get that. But what is the deal? What is the problem? I'm trying to understand why we keep getting injustice and the officers are justified in what they do. Why? Is it because you all don't want every officer that kills a black person to go to jail? You want them to be seen as doing their job? But the documentary states that they were told to do their job, but they didn't do their job. They did what they wanted to do. Now, this young lady is gone. And the officers are seen as what? Heroes? For what? They're seen as doing their job for what? If you were doing your job, she would still be alive. She would still be alive. So, it's basically there just needs to be a retrial. It has to be a retrial. Because in so many words, that officer Mattingly told you what he did. But he was let off. Brett Hankinson was let off. Cosgrove was let off. Kenneth Walker, attempted murder. Hands up, cop killer. Wow. Just wow. How numb, how insensitive, how uncaring can you be to a people that are constantly telling you about the injustice that we have been facing for hundreds of years? This is just devastating what has happened in this nation. And what's crazy also, Breonna Taylor has no criminal history whatsoever. She wasn't a criminal at all. But you might say, hey, she was affiliated with Jamarcus Glover. People are affiliated with different people all the time, but that doesn't make them a criminal. She wasn't a criminal, but they treated her as such. And they didn't even handle her as a lady that she was. A black woman gone at the hands of someone who wasn't doing their job properly. There has to be something done about this system because there are so many holes that officers can get through that will make them appear innocent in cases like this. It's messed up. It is messed up. How many times does someone have to tell you all what we're dealing with? It's not registering, seem like. It's not getting through your skull because you're on the opposite end and you're not trying to put your shoes in another person's shoes. You're not trying to see what we see. You're not trying to hear what we hear. You're not trying to feel what we feel. And then this is another thing too. The body cams. Back in 2015, the chief of police of the Kentucky Department, he declined body cams for the officers that will be involved in drugs dealing with the warrants and raids. So there's no footage of the killing at all. So they went by the words. They went by what was said. So the cops is going to be justified anyway. But the evidence in the house proved otherwise. The audio tape proved otherwise. But what Kenneth Walker had to say meant nothing. What the witnesses said meant nothing. We didn't hear no police, but that meant nothing. But one man say, I heard the police. That meant something. That was all you need. That was all you needed. So it took that basically to justify what the officers had done. It's sad. It's sad. And it's not fair what we go through. She was sleeping in her bed, awakened out of her sleep, and gunned down. All because they didn't announce themselves. I don't get it. The Attorney General, he wasn't trying to be biased. I get that. But come on, man. Come on. I know New York Times just didn't make that audio up. Let's just find a random guy to sound like Mattingly and confess to what he did. No. They released the truth. And you all know the truth. But I guess because they were deemed as heroes, they were officers of the law, they were doing their job, they were justified in killing her. It's sad. It is sad. I hope things turn around because things are just being shaken in this nation. Things are being shaken in America. All right. I just had to get on here and just say how I felt and just do some investigating again just to see how in the world these officers were let off. Be sure to follow me on YouTube, subscribe, like my page. Uh, Be sure also to go and purchase my book, Black in a Blue World. It's available on Amazon Kindle and Lulu.com. Hang in there and just remember that we're black in a blue world.